Now let's talk about the arrays in C#. The arrays are simply a data holders. Imagine that if you have 10 students and for every student there is a name and you need to store the names in one variable. You can do that using the array in C#. The array, it has a fixed size. When you want to create an array, you need to define or you need to set the size of that array, and this size is fixed and can't be changed at runtime. The array depends on the indices. For every element in the array there is an index. The indices in the array starts from 0 till the size of the array minus 1. For example, 10 students means the indices will start from 0 to 9. If I have 100 students and I need to store the names in an array, so the indices will start from 0 till 99. Now let's see how the structure of the array. Let's say that we have 10 numbers and we need to store them in an array. The first index, which is 0, will hold the first number, and the second index, which is number 1, will hold the second number, and so on till the index 9, which will hold the value of the number 10. Let's take an example here. Imagine that I have an array, and this array to store names, and the size of this array will be 5. So this is how to define an array and to set the size of this array. How to add now values inside this array using the index. The index 0 will hold the first element, which is, for example, John, and the second index, which is 1 here, will hold the value Jonathan, for example, and so on. So the indices start from 0 till 4, which is the size of the array minus 1. Now, another option to do the same, but in more dynamic way, which is the lists. Lists also a data container, but it's completely different than the array. It do the same job, but in different way. The array, it has a fixed size, while the list, it has a dynamic size. Means that the list size can be changed at runtime. I can define or I can create a list with no size, because at runtime I can add as much as I want items, and also the data type in the list can be anything. You can store objects, you can store integers, you can store whatever you want, while in the array only you can store the simple data types. And how I can now create list? Simply, I have to use the keyword list, and I have to set or to mention the data type of the array, like integer or object or boolean or whatever data type you are going to store, and then just give it a name and end the line by semicolon. Let's take an example. The list, I need a list of integers to save the ages in a list. I will say list, and I will, inside these brackets, I will mention the data type, which is here integer, and then give it a name, and assign initial value for this list ages by saying equal new list of integer. This means I have created a list with no elements. I want to add now items or elements inside this list. I can do that by saying the ages, the name of the list, dot add, and also I can remove by the same way. Here is the difference. I can keep adding items inside the edges as much as I want, while go back to the list. I can't say names of 5 equal something, because the size is only 5, and here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's it. I can't add more. I have to only add elements as the size here. So now let's go back to the Visual Studio to take an example how to create array and lists.